We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy.
Welcome to Vital Signs, where we talk about all things healthcare, wellness, peak human performance and vitality, and so much more. We are here today to talk about a lot of different topics of conversation, but I want you to keep in mind that this is for informational purposes only. Nothing on this show is meant to be taken as medical advice. Please, before taking any of these into consideration, go ahead and consult with your practitioner. This is for information only. I am really excited to be here with you today. I have a medical negligence expert who is joining me. He is going to demystify medical negligence. What is it? How do we know if there's something that we have to take action on? How can we be protected as a consumer? And so much more. You are in for a treat as we bring Professor Rodney Peyton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you asking me, Jen.
So first things first, tell me a little bit about your background. How did you become a medical negligence expert? What does that look like? What does that even mean?
Well, my journey started a long time ago. By profession, I'm a trauma surgeon, both military and civilian. I'm also heavily into education. I was the head of education in the English College. Now, because of that, obviously, I was teaching and training surgeons in particular about particular operative techniques, and it was about the outcomes and complications. So it naturally flowed on from there that lawyers would seek me out and ask me, well, look, a complication or something has happened to this client. Can you explain to me what it was about? And are there grounds that something was wrong with the standard of care? So it gradually developed into that until now. I'm an associate professor in the Edith Cowan University. It's about tort law. It's a professor in the legal faculty. And my whole background is teaching lawyers and doctors about medical malpractice or medical negligence cases. What is it? What constitutes a medical negligence case, and how do they run them?
And so for the purposes of this show and my viewers, like, we all hear these terms. We hear medical negligence, we hear medical malpractice, and if we have a procedure, for example, and there are complications, how do we as the consumer know, was this the right standard of care? Should we be asking these questions? What does that look like? What is the difference between a complication that could just occur, unfortunately, with a procedure versus a negligence or something that's grounds for medical malpractice?
Okay, well, let's start. My function, and it's very important, is to help the client, their legal advisors, and the court to more clearly understand the nature of medical evidence in an individual case so that they can make better decisions. One of the biggest things you've got to understand is it's not for a medical expert or a lawyer to say whether or not the standard was met or whether the care was right. That is a duty of the court at the end of the day. Now, a lot of these get settled beforehand because they are, in inverted commas, obvious, but we have to look and see three things. A duty of care, and that's usually pretty easy in most medical cases. There needs to be a duty of care. Someone has to be responsible to you for something. That has a standard attached to it. Now, the standard is never perfection. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No doctor on this planet is perfect. So the standard is not perfection. That's not achievable. And so it's what is reasonable in the circumstances. And really it's what would the profession itself think is reasonable in the circumstances. And I'll come back to that in a while. And then, did something really occur because of what has happened? Something that is lasting, something that has had a negative effect on the patient. So it's duty breach and but for, or what we call consequential damage. So that's the holy triad, and that's what we're looking for in all the cases to see whether or not that exists, and therefore there may or may not be a case in medical malpractice.
And so I want to back up just a little bit, Rodney. Thank you for that, because like maybe we are a parent of a patient or a child of a patient that a procedure goes very, very wrong, and we are now placed in the advocacy role of them. How do we know what is the standard of care? Who do we ask what is the standard of care? Is there a place for the consumer to go and look to see, okay, what's reasonable in this instance if there's been an adverse event?
Right. When an adverse events occur, I mean, it just means, and it can be that you're just dissatisfied. You didn't like the way you were spoken to. You thought it was a dirty hospital. You didn't like the bill. You didn't like the way the doctor spoke to you. Those are not negligent acts. That may be a standard of a complaint. Complaints do not pay out money. Complaints are about behavioral issues, and that is not medical negligence. That's a complaint. So first of all, we've got to try and determine, well, what are you actually saying? Are you saying I wasn't happy with the way this was treated? This is dissatisfaction? Or no, there is some form of outcome which was unexpected and shouldn't have happened. So first thing is it a complaint, or is it likely to be a case of negligence? And the second thing is then to look and say, okay, this has happened to me, even though I might have been warned under informed consent, because everybody has to be told within reason, not absolute, but within reason, what could go wrong with any operative procedure, because all operative procedures could go wrong, either in the anesthetic or in the surgery itself. So you'll be told in advance what are possible complications. Then the question is, if that complication occurred, did it occur because somebody didn't treat you properly? The standard of operation was not good enough. The standard of medical care was not good enough. Or did it occur because, it is an event, there has a 10%, 15% likelihood, and it was nobody's fault. The problem in Western society in particularly is we have to find someone at fault. So you've got to say, was it a doctor? Was it a nurse? Or was it someone else in the medical environment responsible for what has happened? So you're a client and you think, this didn't go right. The first thing to try and do is to get an explanation. What happened? To meet with the people and say, look, this happened to me. I know I'm wearing a bag. I didn't know I'd be wearing a bag. You didn't tell me I'd be wearing a bag. What happened? And they should be able to explain to you what happened. If they don't, or they refuse to meet you, you need to seek advice, probably from a lawyer, but you can also apply to the chief executive of the hospital and say, this has happened to me. It's an adverse effect that's happened to me, and I want an explanation, and nobody will give it to me. So one of your avenues is to write a complaint to the complaints officer or the chief executive, when you will get a response, of the hospital concerned. So that's a way of getting it. And the second thing to do is to go to your own family practitioner, get some advice from them and say, can I have a second opinion? Can I have someone else that will see me and talk me through what happened? And then if you understand it, you can see whether or not what happened was liable to be somebody in breach of their duty of care. In other words, the standard, it shouldn't have happened, or we're sorry, but that happens. Let me give you an example. Someone falls on their outstretched hand and they break a little bone in their wrist. There's a bone there called a scaphoid bone. Sometimes you go into an emergency room and they take an x-ray and they don't see it. And they say, oh, right, you've sprained your wrist. and they send you home. And maybe they don't tell you to come back in 10 days to have a re-x-ray, but a week or so later you still have pain, you go to your GP, and the GP sends you back in. They take another x-ray, and actually there is a fracture there. They then put you in a plaster. When you're in a plaster for an escape out maybe 6 to 8 weeks. And you come back about a year later and say, my wrist is still sore. I mean, I still have a problem lifting a pot or a kettle. That is due to the fact they did not put me in plaster right away, and I wasn't put in plaster, for 10 days. That could be a complication of the fact you fractured your wrist, not due to the fact you weren't in a plaster for 10 days. So on the other hand, if it doesn't unite properly, or unites in a bad position, you develop arthritis, that may be because you weren't put in a plaster in time. So it may be that there's a case there. So you can see it's not always straightforward. Some are, some aren't. You need a second opinion, and that is why people like myself get asked for what we call screening. You without spending a fortune trying to get a major report going on for pages and pages, is to look early on, acutely at what happened, and decide early on and maybe explain to the client why this is or is not a breach of duty, why what has happened to them is liable to be a negligent act or not. So the biggest thing is to get to a lawyer if you're really dissatisfied, and for that lawyer to get screening, which should not cost the earth, but someone to look overall and say, look, here was the duty, here was the standard of care, and it would appear in this case it was or was not followed.
Thank you so much for breaking that down. It's a very convoluted situation, because we all know if you have surgery, there's a chance that something can go wrong. Many complications can occur, and that just, they're not preventable. It's no one's fault. But I just want to reiterate to those of you who are watching, make sure that you understand it is. Is it normal? Get your second opinion. Get that second opinion to tell you, walk you through the process and determine, is this a normal issue or is this something that is outside of the ordinary? We do have to take a brief break, but we will be right back after these messages.
These are the top 3 questions I get from people about investing in real estate. How much money do I need to get to the next level? How do I find good properties to invest in? Can I even make money in this business when interest rates are so high? I answer these questions and many more in my online course, SFR University, where I show you the strategy that I used to build a multi-million-dollar real estate business in 4 years from scratch. Whether you're just starting out or someone who's looking to scale, this course will have something for you. Join us at sfruniversity.com. See you in the course.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back to Vital Signs. We are here with Rodney Peyton, and he has shared with us before the break a little bit about what is medical negligence. If we have something that goes wrong in a procedure, what is the normal course of action? And of course, that is he walked it through very nicely. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to him. But I want to shift gears just a little bit, Rodney, because you are truly an expert in many things, but stress in the workplace is something that we were discussing in the break. And so I want to shift gears to that because it's something that applies to so many people. How do we manage that stress? How do we recognize that we are bringing home that stress? And what can we do from a employee standpoint or our ownership of that so that we can start to mitigate some of what we experience in the workplace?
That's actually fascinating. I mean, it's a fascinating topic to me as to how this has happened, and it seems to be developing more and more. And I don't think it's that people are becoming any less able. I think it's because our working environment life has changed so much, and people are not getting out of their work what they used to. They're not getting the relationships. They're not getting their mentorship, their coaching. They're not having those interactivities with people because they're working from home, or the whole work environment is changed and different. There's one person, you're in a room on your own, you're linked to a screen, and you're not having that human interaction. So it has become, as Peter Drucker said in the 50s, this is going to happen, and it has happened because we're more a knowledge-based society, and because of that, there's less physical and more mental strain. So that's where this has started to develop. One of the big things that I've been asked to talk about to major companies is speaking about how we deal with that in the workplace. Now, they have a chance, because I'm also a professor in the law faculty, people come and say, okay, well, what's the regulations? How do we deal with this? How do we, do we get our lawyers involved? How much do you pay? And my answer to that is, once you're down the line of going to law, once you're down the line of getting unions involved and everybody else involved, you're too late. You're dealing with the effect of what has happened instead of going back to cause. And if you want to treat it, you have to go back to cause. What is causing this? And where I like to start with this is someone I really heavily admire and work with for a long time, a guy called Tony Robbins. Working with Tony is an interesting statement. You work for Tony in a big group, but you learn an awful lot. That man is great as far as kind of mindset is concerned. And he points out what we call the 6 human needs. What do we need to be fulfilled as people? 4 of them are basic, and 2 of them are spiritual. Now, I don't mean religious. I mean they're higher aspects of the mind. The 4 basic ones are every one of us needs to feel significant. We need to feel that we are listened to, that somebody cares what we have to say, and we're not just brushed off. The second one is, and I'll go these quickly and then go back over about workplace. And the second one is love and connection. That, yeah, we need to be significant, but we need to work in teams. We are human animals. We do not work in isolation. No one is self-made. No one is an island. We all need that. And the loneliness that can develop really cuts across that love and connection. Third thing we need in life is certainty. We need to know where our pay is coming from. We need to know we can eat. We need to know we can sleep. We need to be sure of our environment. But that can become very boring. And so we need some sort of variety, which is a contradistinction to it, but we do need to do something different. Now, those are the four basics. And let me just show you what happens at work. When you go to work and you feel you're not being listened to, when your voice is not heard, you're just one of 1,000 people, get on with the work, then you begin to feel devalued. Lack of respect, a lot of people will say, but you feel devalued. Your manager doesn't value you. Your work colleagues don't value you. You feel low in your significance. And when you look now, for instance, at working from home, what's happened there is the connection's gone. We're not having relationships. We're not being with people. We're not being able to talk at the cooler. We're not being able to have ordinary discussion. And then when we do go online, people turn their cameras off, so you're not even seeing them. Remember, 7% of our communication is what we say. The rest of it is how we say it and the physiology involved. So we need to have that human connection. We need certainty. We need to know that our job is safe. We don't need to be hearing every day, oh, there's going to be redundancies, or this firm is going down the tubes. Or worse, not to hear anything but get rumor control that something is happening. So transparency is not there. And the stuff is not being handed down from management to tell people exactly what's going on and how they can be involved. And a variety. They're just being asked to do the same thing day in and day out with no change. That is soul destroying and boring. So you can see that if you're in that situation, you need to look at your work and say, how in this job I am in, is it the right job for me? Do I feel that I'm being listened to? Do I have good relationships within the work group? Do I have some sort of certainty in my employment, my salary, even my lunch breaks? Do I have my time to myself when it should be there? And do I have a variety in my work where I don't have to sit here all day, every day with a microphone on and this and talk and talk and talk and go on to the next call and somebody's counting how many talks did you do today? From a management point of view, you need to look and make sure that it's not happening to your worker or you'll end up with the law. For a worker, is that what this job you're in is doing to you? Because if that's so, you need to think long and hard. Is that the right job or should I be moving on? Having got those, there are those two others. Those two others are growth and development and contribution. Every one of us needs to feel we're growing, that we've no more today than we knew yesterday. The human beings, like any plant or any other living, you either grow or you die. There is no static situation here. So you need to be growing and developing. You need to be learning. You need to be feeling that this environment is moving somewhere and it's not just the same old, same old. And finally, you need to think that what I'm doing is important. It's making a contribution outside of me, outside of this work. I mean, that's why, even in factories, they want people to stamp their name in a car somewhere. So it says, yeah, I did that. I contributed. I have done something to people more than just me, but because of this group, we've moved forward. So those are the actual basics of why we've ended up where we've ended up and why we've more stress and less resilience in what we do. From a worker's point of view, you need to understand and look at my work. Is that what's happening? From a manager's point of view, you have a duty of care. And if you're just ending up saying, am I keeping to the statute? Am I doing what is legally necessary? Then you're missing it completely. And the bottom line is that will hit the bottom line of any company. Lawsuits hit the bottom line of any company. So you want to move it back to cause those 6 human needs, really lay out the cause of what is happening. And if you think about it, the solution is obvious.
Absolutely, and what comes to me very strongly is there's a lot of buzz around culture and corporate culture, but really what we're looking for is we want engaged employees. We want team members to feel like they want to get up and go to work for us, and we're seeing this shift where we've seen it in buyer behavior. People buy from companies that stand for something and have a purpose, but it's also important that our teams feel like they're contributing to something bigger than just, like look at engineering. It's a lot of head down work, it's a lot of computer work, and it's always been kind of that, a little bit of that kind of mentality, but they're building something bigger. What is the end result of the project? What is that going to look like, and how does that impact society, or what is that end result? And so I couldn't agree more. Thank you for breaking those down, and for our viewers who are in one of those jobs, your advice is take a hard look, ask these questions. If your needs are not being met, today is the day you sit down with your leadership and you say, my needs are not being met, because as entrepreneurs, we don't know unless someone shares with us or unless we actually ask the question. So those of us who are leaders have to go to our teams and ask the question, do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you're contributing to something bigger? And we have to turn those ears on. So did I miss anything for our takeaways, Rodney?
No, I think you've hit it smack on the head. We've got, remember, all employees are volunteers. This is not a slave society, contrary to popular opinion. All employees are volunteers, and they can move on. And employees need to understand that there are other opportunities. So you want to be with the team, you want to work with the team. At the end of the day, if that's going to break down, you've got, personality-wise, that's the way it is. You've got to either move sideways or move on.
Thank you so much for your expertise. If people would like to reach out to you, how can they reach you?
They can get me on my email, rpeyton, R-P-E-Y-T-O-N, on the screen at rpeyton.com, or JW Rodney Peyton, my website.
Thank you so much, Rodney. I really appreciate you for bringing your expertise to our audience.
Appreciate it, Jen. Thank you very much indeed.
And we are going to be right back after these messages.
Lynne.
These are the top 3 questions I get from people about investing in real estate. How much money do I need to get to the next level? How do I find good properties to invest in? Can I even make money in this business when interest rates are so high? I answer these questions and many more in my online course, SFR University, where I show you the strategy that I used to build a multi-million-dollar real estate business in 4 years from scratch. Whether you're just starting out or someone who's looking to scale, this course will have something for you. Join us at sfruniversity.com. See you in the course.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back to Vital Signs. Before the break, we were talking with Rodney Peyton about the 6 basic human needs, the 6 human needs in the workplace and what has contributed to elevated workplace stress. And you're in for a treat because we have now with us Lynne Peyton, and one of the things that she is a master at is helping us with the strategies and tools in order to manage our stress. Both from a leadership standpoint and also individually. So I would love to introduce to you Lynne Peyton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jen. It's so good to be here. And yes, isn't that one of the most overused words in the history of the universe? Everybody today is stressed about something. And one of the things I want to tell everybody out there is stress is a choice. We all get to learn to manage our stress. Step 1 is becoming aware of it and understanding where it affects you. For some people, it's a headache. For other people, it's here. For other people, it's in their tummy. So step 1 is identifying when you are feeling stress. And what is stress? I mean, at the end of the day, stress is a feeling. And this just photograph just beautifully exemplifies it. Stress is a sense, either real or perceived, loss of control. So by contrast then, how do we deal with stress? The first step is to acknowledge that we're not feeling in control, and then ask ourselves some great questions like, what is going on for me now? How can I get back into control? And some of the strategies are really, really simple. Step 1 for me is always write down all the things, like do a brain dump. Figure out what are all the things that are going on at the moment that are contributing to your sense of stress, and write them all down. Now, most people, Jen, as you and I know, most people are visual. So if we get things down in paper or we type them up on our screen, once we can see it, then we can start to chunk it, to prioritize it, to determine, you know, what's the most important thing that I need to do right now to make me feel better? So step 1 is actually just identifying it. Step 2 then is dealing with it in a manageable way. And that's about understanding all the things that are going, recognizing that some of them aren't that important, but by writing them down, visualizing, chunking them, we can take back control.
So Lynne, I'm going to ask you a question about that because you know I'm going to get the question. I know people have it in their mind. Their question is, well, we can't control everything. What about those things that are stressing us out, that are outside of our control? And I'm going to use a perfect example. We are filming in Houston, Texas. We have had 3 major weather events in a matter of 5 weeks. Trees down, no power for a week. Like, there's a lot of things that are outside of our control. How do we manage or what do we do about those things that are stressing us out, that are actually outside of our control?
And you know, I interviewed someone on my podcast very recently, Dr. Todd Hutchison, who's an absolute expert in both behavioral science and project management. And he said, what you need to do is you need to call the CIA. So he says the first thing is you need to recognize the things that are outside of our control and stop trying to fight them. So you need to determine, what can you do within this context? What can you control? We can control our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions. We control how we think about things. And we obviously, in situations like you guys are in right now, you have to take precautions, you have to follow advice, you have to keep yourself as safe as you can be. But step 1 at overcoming frustration is figure out what you can control and then stop battling against the things that you can't control. Just work within that context and keep yourself as safe and as well as you can be. The I is for influencing. If you can't control something, how can you influence it? This could be, in your situation, influencing friends and relatives to move, to go to a safer place, to take care of themselves. And the A is for acceptance. Sometimes we just need to accept what is going on and learn to be more comfortable with it.
Oh, that's a tough one. Acceptance and learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable situation. So do tell, I know you've got strategies for this. Do you have a nice strategy that you can share with everyone on the show today to help them with that acceptance piece? Because I know that one is a challenge for many people.
I think the acceptance is probably the hardest bit. But, when we can go with the flow, we're all programmed in a certain way. And what I find with many people, a lot of their stress comes from the fact that they're not in flow. That could be they're not in a job that actually plays to their strengths. It could be that they've been asked to take on a project that they haven't got any particular interest or aptitude for. So part of the reason that teams are the most successful teams are the teams where we make best use of the skills and talents that the individuals that make up the team have. So Jim Collins says, it's not just that you need the right people on the bus, you need the right people in the right seats on the bus, because success breeds success. So if we're doing well, we're going to be more successful, we're going to be more content, we're going to be more aligned, and we're going to be better teammates. So it's all about flow. How do we get back in the flow? And I think a lot of times when people are stressed out, they're battling against the flow.
And that never works. So I have a situation myself, or a saying myself, and what I like to do personally, and I don't know if this is something that you've worked with, but I'd be really curious. I believe that when we're in our head like that and we're battling ourselves, if we change our physiology, we can change our psychology. Like if we're in that stuck space and we can't quite move forward, and it happens to all of us. Let's be real. We all get in a situation where we can't necessarily use our normal tools. I will literally change my environment. I will go for a walk around the block. I will get outside. I will change my location and change my physiology to help get past that mental stuckness or whatever is kind of stopping me. Is that something that you like to talk about? And what are some things we can do in the workplace? Because sometimes that block happens and we might be in a meeting and we might be ready to blow a gasket and we're just stuck and can't move forward. So how do we handle that in the workplace? Is there a way for us to maybe press pause and make that change so we can move forward?
So the number one thing is breathe. Take a breath. Take a sip of water. So you're absolutely right. Tony Robbins always says physiology first. And he says that there are 3 key ways that we can change our state. And I have practiced this for years, Jen, and I've taught it for years. Because when we're feeling real stress and it shows up as anxiety or panic attack or whatever, step number 1 is always to change your physiology. So that's about either movement, as you've said, and movement's the number 1 way we can change our physiology. But sometimes we can't move if we're in a meeting or if we feel really tight, but we can breathe. So just practice breathing. And sometimes when I'm teaching a workshop, I'll go, how is everybody? And people will give me 1 word to describe how you're doing today. People will talk stressed, frustrated, overwhelmed, anxious, whatever. So then I just stop and I say, let's all just breathe. And if we can take 2 or 3, well, you need at least 3 complete deep breaths, it just changes everything. So breathing is a great way to change your physiology. The second thing is we've got to stay hydrated. I mean, you guys are not just suffering storms at the moment, but you're in 90, 100 degree temperatures. We need to keep hydrated. A really funny story. In Australia, if the children come to school, because my granddaughter goes to school in Australia, if the kids come to school and they don't have either their hat or their water bottle, mommy has to go back and get it. So my 4-year-old, I said to the other day, would you please take a drink? And they carry these water bottles everywhere with them. It's like glued to the child. And she said, I always drink water, Nana Lynne. Do you want to know why I always drink water? I said, tell me why you always drink water. She said, because if you don't drink water, you get dehydrated. I said, so then what happens? She said, well, then you get dizzy. And then she looked me like square in the eyes and she said, and you die. Quite it. So we got to drink water. We got to practice breathing, proper deep breaths, and we got to move. But the second thing Robin says about improving our state, he said, you've got to change your focus. And we and I have talked about this before. You get more of what you focus on. So if you focus on how stressed you feel, you're just going to get more stressed. What we have to focus on is what is going to get us moving out of that stressful situation. And you and I know when we ask ourselves great questions, what do I normally do when I feel like this that makes me feel better? What are some of the things I know work? So we start to then learn what are our strategies for overcoming overwhelm, stress, anxiety, whatever, and we start to put those strategies into practice. And then the third thing, so we change our physiology, we change our focus, and we also change our language. So we want to change our language from language that helps us to spiral downwards to language patterns that help us spiral upwards. What am I not seeing? What else could I do? Who could I call? You know, how can I? All language that takes us forward into a less stressful scenario.
Absolutely. I think that was absolutely perfect. Just breathe. Let's change our physiology. Let's move our body. Let's hydrate, and let's change our focus. Ask the question, what can I do? How can I move forward? Who can I call to get that ball rolling so that we can do this? Thank you so much for this.
Here's a great tip for leaders as well. When your client is stuck, the same applies to them. Give them a drink of water, do breathing exercises, but also get them up moving about. You know, again, don't let your clients grow legs. The sofa is not the most enabling environment to get people to think differently. So get them up and moving.
Absolutely. I couldn't concur more. We do have to take a brief break, but we will be right back after these messages.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Welcome back to Vital Signs, and I am going to pick up where we left off. Before the break, we were talking about stress. Stress, we're all stressed. How do we shift out, and what are the tools that we can use to move away out of stress, to manage our stress? It's a choice. Lynne Peyton is here with me. She shared that stress is a choice. We get to choose our response. We can just breathe. We can move our body. We can hydrate, and we can alter our focus towards something that's not going to spiral us down, but that's going to open us up and move us forward. And Lynne, I know that you are very much about self-care as well. And I just want to say that if we are taking care of ourselves on the front end, we are already have more bandwidth when things don't go our way, that we don't feel so stressed out when crisis does occur. So talk to me a little bit about self-care. What are your tips and tricks that we can have that extra bandwidth to handle the craziness that life throws at us?
And you know what, Jen, this show is about vital signs, and it's about medical developments, and everything we know about medicine is prevention is much, much better than cure.
Yep.
So if we start taking care of ourselves routinely, not only do we as leaders set a beautiful example for everybody else who's depending on us, but we are there with the bandwidth, as you say, to both deal with the crises as they occur, and they will. We're just living in a time where change is just a constant, and we need to be able to train ourselves to cope with that. And we also need to be there to support other people through change. And someone said yesterday when I was talking to someone else, and they said, we've got to learn to become change tolerant. So how do we do that? Well, I think it starts with practicing self-care and really strengthening not just our mindset, but also our physical well-being. So how do I do that? Well, number one thing for me is food. Because my husband got diagnosed as type 2 diabetic at the very start of COVID, we educated ourselves about diet, and we eliminated as far as possible. You can't always eliminate it. Everybody needs an ice cream or a bar of chocolate now and again. But we really became very conscious of how much sugar is in our food, and we manage our diet so that it is lower in carbohydrates, higher in protein. So we just eat lots and lots of protein and vegetables. So diet is number one. And the other thing that we've all got to recognize is that obesity is the number one predisposing factor to so many other illnesses. My son is a dentist, and he keeps saying the number one thing he tells his patients is you've got to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet. So diet comes first. And we talked about this already. Drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. And fizzy drinks are not the same as drinking water. So food first. Sleep. We need a good sleep hygiene. Now, that is simply about leaving your phone outside of the bedroom, deciding when you turn off all your electronics, having a routine that calms you down before sleep. And, you know, working out how much sleep you need, because it's not the same for everybody, but we all know what works for us. So we've got food, we've got sleep, exercise. We've got to keep moving. We were meant to keep moving. I build in my walk every single day according to my schedule. So today it was at 6:45 in the morning because I had a really busy day. Other days I do it at the end of the day, but it gets built in there somewhere. And if you're not a great walker, find somebody to have as a walking partner. Same if you like to run or go to the gym or you don't. Find a class, find some way where you actually schedule the exercise and you commit to it, and you hold yourself to account and someone else holds you to account. The other thing is social interaction. We were programmed, we're meant to have fun, and we're meant to have family time and time with our friends. So those are my key ones, Jen, and I expect yours are something similar.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to the exercise thing, it is so incredibly vitally important. If I don't get my movement in, I am a cranky pants. Like it is stressful to me if I don't get my movement in. And I want to just kind of back off on that just a little bit, because sometimes it is a calming movement. It might be yoga, so we can incorporate breath and stretching and mobility and mindfulness, because sometimes in a busy lifestyle, that is a way to it's a way to multitask some of the things that we've already talked about. You know, that mindfulness is, you didn't necessarily speak about that in this piece, but we talked about it in stress management, and that's to just breathe and to be aware and to have that self-awareness. And so, you know, we're busy individuals. If you're a busy mom at home, or you're a busy entrepreneur, we have to find what works for us. And for me, sometimes it's dancing like nobody was looking to get my heart rate up, and then doing yoga so I can get that breath work and moderate. So I really love that you brought that. That's my favorite. Movement is always my favorite, but I concur with everything you said. And I just want to highlight sleep hygiene. You spoke a lot about it. It is so vitally important, because that's when we recover. And if we're not sleeping, we don't reset our hormones, then stress is going to be off the charts. And so all the tools in the world will not help us if we're not actually decreasing the baseline by getting a good restorative sleep. So thank you for bringing that up. And so Lynne, I have a question for you, because most people who are watching this are very busy individuals. They have a lot going on. Maybe they're managing kids and all the things at this point in time. What would you suggest the first step people take if they would like to move a measure of self-care into their daily routine? What should they start with?
I think they ask themselves the question, what's the easiest step for me to take first? Because we're always going to go with the line of least resistance. So the question is, what would work for me? Would it be I could go for a walk with somebody? Is it that I could just be more conscious when I'm pushing that supermarket trolley about what I actually put in? But everybody needs a why, Jen. So for a parent, the why might be, how can I be a better example for my children, and how can I ensure that my children eat better? How can I ensure that my children have a better sleep routine and more boundaries around their use of technology? So start with the why. Why do I want to be more responsible in terms of my self-care? Is it because I wanted to do it for me, because I want to look better, I want to buy new clothes? Is it because as a parent I want to lead by example? Is it because as a leader I have to have the energy to show up energized for my team every day? So start with the why, and then pick the one that resonates most with you.
Thank you so much for that. And we have just a few more minutes. I'm going to ask you. You are exceptionally healthy. You've dialed yourself in. You do so many things. How is it that you're able to stay on track when you travel? Because I get asked this question a lot as well, and I want to know, what is your secret sauce? Because you travel a lot, which knocks us off of our routines. It's very easy to build up the self-care routine and then to stay and maintain a routine, but how do you manage that when the routine shifts, whether it's unexpected life crisis or it's extensive travel? How do you maintain that? What is your secret sauce?
I don't make excuses. I listened to a fabulous podcast recently that said, don't let your excuses become your reasons for not doing what you need to do. So I don't make excuses. I walk in airports. I walk up and down the plane. I can walk at 11 o'clock at night if I haven't got my 10,000 steps in before that. And I love the app on your phone because it's right there. If you don't make it to green, you haven't met your goals. So orange isn't good enough, and red is just a disaster on the screen. So I hold myself accountable, and I don't make excuses. I am 71, and I'm probably much more active than many of my younger friends. I still go to dancercise, and I don't manage to maybe do it at the pace that the younger ones do, but I show up. And my daddy always used to say, the only day he was beaten was the day he didn't show up. So it's about commitment. It's about showing up. It's about not making excuses. And then it's about celebrating. When I see all those big green dots, I go, yeah, did it another day.
I absolutely love that. You're absolutely right. The only game we don't win is the one we don't play, or when we give up. So thank you so much for your expertise, for bringing everything to us today. How can people reach out to you if they would like to learn more?
Oh, please, please, please visit my website. There is so much good stuff on there, www.lynnepeyton.com. There are tools and strategies and handouts and videos and all sorts of good stuff. And if you want to contact me personally, you'll get me at lynn@lynnepeyton.com.
Thank you so much for your expertise today. I really appreciate you. We've talked about stress management, tools for that. We've talked about self-care and so much more. Thank you for bringing your experience and everything that you bring to the world to my audience.
Jen, it's such a pleasure working with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you heard it today. Yes, you. It is time to take action. Lynne said, find your why. Why do you want to improve your self-care? Why do you want to take that next level in your health? Or why do you want to manage your stress? Get that purpose down and then choose the one thing that you will commit to without excuses and put it into action today. Because if we wait, then it just becomes another hour that we talked about all kinds of amazingness and didn't take action. Action's where the magic happens. Let's implement that one habit today and hold ourselves to that and build that up so that we can shift our health, our peak human performance and our vitality to the next level. Unfortunately, all good things come to an end, including this show. But the good news is we'll be here same time, same station next week. But until then, enjoy the rest of your day.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again. Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new